Let's take a small break from our pixels and from our load pixels and do something easier in this episode. Let's play a little bit with strings. There are already some things we know about strings. For example, we know how to print one. We can print this sequence of characters surrounded by double quotes using println, and we see it down here. We know that we can use the text function to write the same text on the screen. So we could type here the position 100, 100. And now we have here our hello. We can increase the size of the text using text size. And now it should be more visible. One thing we haven't seen is that we can concatenate strings. We can put together several strings. We can do that by using the plus sign. For example, I could type here hello space my friend. So we have two strings and we have a plus sign in between. And processing will put those two texts together. We know how to keep a text in a variable. So we could say here, declare a variable string, message equals hello space plus, and another text here, my, then here friend. So we are adding here 3 different strings, and between each there is a plus sign. And now instead of typing here directly this text, I'm gonna type here message. So I'm sending this string variable as a parameter for the text function, and I should see something very similar to what we saw before. We can not only concatenate strings, but we can also concatenate strings with numbers. So I could type here hello my, and then 1 2 3 4, and this will still work. This is building one string using all this information. Let's make now a small clock, or let's print the date first and then the time. Let's change here the message. I'm going to type here current date semicolon and then plus, and here now I have to add a function that would give me back the date, the current date. Let's find on the documentation. I'm gonna search for date, and here we have several functions that deal with time and date. What they do is quite obvious. There's functions called hour, millis, year, minute, month, day, and second. The only one a little bit strange might be millis, like this is the current milliseconds. We normally don't work with milliseconds, but we can do that in processing. So for the date, we're gonna need the year, the month, and the day. I'm going to try to use them even without looking in the documentation how they work. So I'm going to say the current date, and I'm going to say here day, and then I'm going to add maybe a dot in between the day and the month, and then I'm going to add another dot, and then finally the year. So here I'm building one string using all this information. There are a few fixed parts. These are strings I am entering, like this first part here, and then here I'm entering a dot, and here another one. And I'm calling also 3 functions, a function called day, a function called month, and one called year. So let's run the program and see what happens. And it's writing here, current date 15.11.2011. Let's change the background color, so it's a little bit more visible and happy than this gray color. Let's choose this orange here. Okay, now it's much better. Now we could try the same thing with the time. We could use the hours, the minutes, and the seconds. Let's type here hour, minute, and second. And I'm gonna change this current time. So now if I run the program, I see here time. Maybe I could replace these dots here by columns, so it looks more like the official time. And now it's better. One problem this clock has, though, is that it's not changing, it's not updating. This was the time when I run the program, but now it's not up to date anymore. Well, that can be fixed very easily. I just have to move these lines where I build this message string, and then when I write this message on the screen, I'm gonna cut them from here, and I'm going to enter them inside the draw function. And we know the draw function is called continuously, many times per second. So now I will have a running clock. Well, I need to add a background call, otherwise all these times are written on top of each other and it's very hard to read. And now we have a running clock. But this is a bit funny because you see when the seconds are less than 10, there is no 0 in front. This looks a bit weird. Actually, fixing that is quite easy. There's a function called nf. I'm gonna search here in the reference for nf, which is a utility function for formatting numbers into strings. This looks quite messy here, but it's actually very easy. We can call nf with a number, and then how many digits do we want? And for this time, we always want 2 digits. So let's try that out. I'm gonna just try here printing a number, print ln 7. Let's see what happens. So we have a 7 here. And if I surround this by nf and then parentheses, I type 7,2. What do we get then? We get 0, 7. That's exactly what we want. You could try writing lots of zeros in front if you feel like 7, 7. So now we have all these 7 digits for representing the number 7. So to fix our clock, we should just type here nf around all these functions, nf2. So that means print the hour using 2 digits. And then again here nf for the minute, and then 2 digits. And finally nf second, 2. And then we run the program and we can see that it's working. Actually, we don't know if it's working because all numbers are greater than 10. So they have 2 digits each time. We could wait a moment. And now see that it's working. We have 2 digits for the seconds. What else can we do with strings? There's hundreds of things you can do with strings. Let's get rid of our clock here and just go back to a simple sentence. And let's run the program and see that it's still working. There's our simple sentence. You can find out different operations you can do to strings if you go to the documentation and look here for string, here under composite string. And here there's several functions you can call which are related to strings. For example, you can use the first one, char@. So let's try here this char@. I'm gonna say here print message dot char@0. And we will see here, whoa, many times. Because we have this inside our draw function. Char@ is actually returning us the character at position 0, which is A. If we type here 2, we should get S. This is 0, 1, 2. Now you know how you can find which character is at a certain position in the string. You can search for any character and it will tell you which one it is. Another one interesting here is maybe index of, which can tell us where in the string is a certain letter. So I want to know index of, and let's search for T. And I'm going to replace print by println so we don't get everything in one line. So now processing should tell us where is the T in this sentence. And it says it's in position 12. So we can count here from the beginning. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and this is 12. Other things you can do with strings is comparing them. You can find out if they are equal. You can find out how long they are. You can grab one part of a string, maybe the beginning or the end. You can make it lowercase, you can make it uppercase, and let's have a look at this in future episodes.